The blue-skinned alien named Ziktal stared at the emergency beacon in his three-fingered hand. His large eyes reflected the red warning lights flashing throughout the command center. Outside the reinforced windows of the Thraxi defense station, crystal formations grew across the surface of his homeworld, spreading like a disease. The Voidborn had arrived 3 days ago, and already a quarter of the planet was consumed. "Commander, the evacuation ships can only take 30% of our population," said his second-in-command. "The Council refuses to send more vessels." Ziktal's thin shoulders slumped. The Galactic Council had abandoned them, just as they had warned. The Voidborn were unstoppable, moving from system to system, consuming everything in their path. Some said they weren't even alive in any way the galaxy understood life. "There is one option left," Ziktal said, his voice barely above a whisper. His crew turned to look at him, their feathery antennae drooping in despair. "You cannot mean." His second-in-command couldn't finish the sentence. "The Deathworlders. The humans." Ziktal straightened his back. "We activate the old emergency protocols and we call Earth." The command center fell silent. Everyone knew about humans. They were a young species that had quickly developed space travel, only to be quarantined in their home system decades ago. Their planet was classified as an ultra-death world, a place of extreme gravity, deadly weather, and aggressive life forms. Humans themselves were regarded as dangerous, unpredictable, and frighteningly durable. Stories told of their incredible endurance, their ability to survive injuries that would kill most species, and their strange enjoyment of things other beings found painful. "The Council forbids all contact with Earth," his second-in-command reminded him. "The Council has left us to die," Ziktal replied. He inserted the ancient key code into the emergency system and began recording a message. "This is Commander Ziktal of the Thraxi Defense Force. Our world is under attack by the Voidborn. The Council has abandoned us. If anyone on Earth receives this message, we beg for your help. We know of your quarantine, but you may be our only hope." The message shot out into space, encoded on a frequency the Council had long forgotten existed. Captain Ethan Hayes stood on the bridge of the UES Intrepid, staring at the vast emptiness beyond the boundary of Earth's solar system. For 25 years, no human ship had officially crossed that invisible line. Not since the Galactic Council had deemed humans too dangerous, too unpredictable to join their community of worlds. "Captain, we're picking up a strange signal," said Officer Ryan Cooper, his fingers moving quickly across his communications panel. "It's not using any standard protocols." Ethan moved to stand behind him. At 42, he was younger than most captains in the United Earth Defense Force, but his brown eyes carried the wisdom of someone who had seen more than his share of challenges. "Can you clean it up?" Ethan asked. "Working on it, sir." Cooper's brow furrowed in concentration. It's coming from outside the quarantine zone." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew the implications. No alien signal had been directed specifically at Earth since the isolation began. "I've got it," Cooper finally said, "putting it on screen now." The alien face that appeared was blue-skinned with large, oval eyes. Its voice trembled as it spoke, the automatic translation system converting its words to English. When the message ended, Ethan's first officer, Nicole Bennett, turned to him. "Sir, the regulations are clear. We can't respond to communications from outside the system." Ethan nodded. The rules existed for good reason. The last time humans had tried to help another species, it had ended badly. The Council had used the incident as the final excuse to quarantine Earth. "Plot a course back to Earth Command," Ethan ordered. "This needs to go straight to Admiral Collins." Admiral Samantha Collins was a tall woman with short gray hair and a reputation for speaking her mind. She watched the alien distress call for the third time in the secure conference room at Earth Defense Headquarters. "The Thraxi," she said. "We had limited contact with them before the quarantine. They were friendly, if a bit nervous around us." She looked at the small group gathered around the table. "What do we know about these Voidborn?" Dr. Lisa Wright, the lead xenobiologist, shook her head. "Almost nothing. They aren't in any of the data we received during our brief time in contact with the galactic community. If they exist, the Council kept information about them from us." Which wouldn't be surprising, said Keith Russell, chief engineer from the Intrepid. They've kept plenty from us. Ethan leaned forward. Admiral, I know what you're thinking. If we cross the boundary to help the Thraxi, we'll be breaking the quarantine. The Council could see it as an act of war. And if we do nothing, we prove every terrible thing they've said about us, Admiral Collins replied, that humans only care about themselves, that we're too dangerous to be trusted. She stood up and walked to the window overlooking Earth's orbital defense platform. Humans had not been idle during their isolation. They had built, invented, and prepared, just in case the Council ever decided they were too dangerous to exist at all. Captain Hayes, you've seen the message. What's your assessment? She asked. Ethan thought for a moment. The Thraxi are desperate. Whatever these Voidborn are, they're a serious threat. This could be our chance to show the galaxy that humans aren't what the Council claims we are. Admiral Collins nodded slowly. Or it could confirm their worst fears about us. She turned to face the group. But I can't ignore a cry for help. Not when we have the ability to respond. She pressed a button on the table, and a holographic map of the galaxy appeared. The Thraxi homeworld is here, approximately 2 weeks of travel at our best speeds. She looked directly at Ethan. Captain Hayes, I'm authorizing a humanitarian mission. Take the Intrepid and 2 additional ships, the Valiant and the Dauntless. Your orders are to assist the Thraxi and gather information about this Voidborn threat. And if we encounter Council forces? Ethan asked. You are not authorized to engage unless fired upon, Admiral Collins said firmly. This is a rescue mission, not a military operation. Our goal is to save lives and hopefully begin rebuilding bridges with the galactic community. Ethan nodded. We'll leave as soon as the ships are ready. As the meeting ended, Dr. Wright pulled Ethan aside. Captain, there's something else you should know. If these Voidborn are as dangerous as they sound, we could be heading into something even humans aren't prepared for. Ethan gave her a small smile. That's exactly why they called us, Doctor. Because sometimes the most feared species in the galaxy is exactly what you need. The 3 human ships moved silently through the darkness of space. The UES Intrepid led the way, with the Valiant and Dauntless following in tight formation. Captain Ethan Hayes stood on the bridge, watching as they approached the edge of the quarantine zone that had contained humanity for 25 years. All systems ready, Captain, said Lieutenant Nicole Bennett from her tactical station. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her eyes never left her display. Stealth. Systems operating at full capacity. Ethan nodded. The stealth technology was one of many advancements humans had made during their isolation. The Galactic Council had no idea how far Earth's technology had progressed, and Ethan hoped to keep it that way for as long as possible. Communications. Send one last update to Earth Command, Ethan ordered. Let them know we're crossing the boundary. Officer Ryan Cooper sent the message, his fingers dancing across his console. Message sent, sir. We'll be out of safe communication range in 3 minutes. All ships, prepare for boundary crossing, Ethan said into the fleet channel. Once we cross, we're on our own. The invisible line that marked Earth's quarantine zone loomed ahead. No human ship had officially crossed this boundary since the Council's decree. To do so now was to risk war, but to ignore the Thraxi's call for help would be to turn their backs on everything humanity stood for. Boundary crossing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, announced the navigation officer. We are now outside. Sol system quarantine zone, Captain. Ethan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Set course for the Thraxi homeworld, maximum speed. The 3 ships accelerated, their engines glowing blue against the blackness of space. They were now officially in forbidden territory. In the ship's gym, Marine Commander Alan Rodriguez was leading his team through combat drills. Sweat poured down his face as he demonstrated a takedown move, his muscular body moving with practiced precision. Remember, he told his squad, we don't know what kind of environment we'll be facing. The Thraxi atmosphere has more nitrogen than we're used to, and the gravity is only about 70% of Earth's. So we'll be stronger there, said one of the younger Marines, a grin spreading across his face. and more likely to overextend and hurt ourselves, Alan corrected firmly. Low gravity can be just as dangerous as high gravity if you're not careful. We need to be ready for anything. The Marines continued their training, adapting their moves for different gravity scenarios. Alan watched them with pride. These men and women represented the best of humanity, strong, adaptable, and determined, the very traits that had frightened the Council. In the science lab, Dr. Lisa Wright was studying the limited data they had on the Thraxi and trying to piece together what the Voidborn might be. They're described as crystalline, she explained to Keith Russell, the chief engineer who had joined her research efforts. But what does that mean? Are they silicon-based life forms or something else entirely? Keith ran a hand through his short blonde hair. The only way to know for sure is to see them ourselves, but if they can consume a planet, we need to be ready with countermeasures. Lisa nodded, her attention returning to her screens. I've been analyzing the Thraxi transmission. There are some unusual energy readings in the background. I think the Voidborn might be drawn to specific energy signatures. Like moths to a flame? Keith asked, leaning closer to see her data. Exactly, Lisa said. And if that's the case, we might be able to use it against them. 12 days into their journey, the human fleet picked up the first signs of the disaster unfolding in the Thraxi system. Long-range sensors detected massive energy fluctuations and debris scattered throughout the approach vectors. Captain, I'm picking up multiple distress signals, reported Officer Cooper. Not just from the Thraxi homeworld, but from throughout their system. Ethan frowned. How many ships are in the area? It's hard to tell, sir. There's a lot of interference. But I'm detecting at least 50 vessels of various sizes. Most appear to be civilian evacuation ships. Any sign of Council vessels? Ethan asked. Nicole checked her tactical display. None that I can identify, Captain. It seems the Council really did abandon them. Ethan's jaw tightened. Increase speed. Let's get there as fast as we can. 2 days later, the human ships entered the Thraxi system. What they found shocked even the most prepared among them. The Thraxi homeworld was partially covered in glittering crystalline structures that seemed to be spreading across its surface like a disease. Half the planet glowed with an unnatural light, while the other half still showed signs of desperate resistance. My God, whispered Nicole as she stared at the main view screen. Those crystals have consumed nearly half the planet. Ethan stood from his captain's chair. Hail any Thraxi ships or defense stations. Let them know we're here to help. After several tense minutes, a response came through. The blue face of a Thraxi appeared on screen, its large eyes widening at the sight of humans. This is Defense Coordinator Malik. You're from Earth? You actually came? This is Captain Ethan Hayes of the United Earth Defense Force, Ethan replied. We received your distress call. We're here to help. The alien's feathery antennae quivered with emotion. We had almost given up hope. The Voidborn have already taken half our world. Our remaining defense stations can't hold out much longer. We need to coordinate our efforts, Ethan said. Can we dock with your main defense station? The Thraxi hesitated, then nodded. I will send coordinates, but I must warn you, our atmosphere may be toxic to your kind. Ethan smiled slightly. We came prepared, Coordinator. Humans are quite adaptable. After ending the transmission, Ethan turned to his officers. Commander Rodriguez, prepare your team for station boarding. Full environmental suits until we can confirm safety parameters. Alan nodded. My team will be ready in 15 minutes. Sir? Dr. Wright, I want you with them. We need to understand what these Voidborn are and how to stop them. Lisa didn't look up from her data. I think I'm already starting to figure that out, Captain. The energy readings from those crystals are fascinating. They're not just consuming matter, they're converting it into energy in a way I've never seen before. Can we use that information to fight them? Ethan asked. Maybe, Lisa said. I need more data, but there might be a way to disrupt their energy consumption pattern. Ethan looked back at the view screen, at the dying world that had called upon Earth in its darkest hour. Then let's get you that data, Doctor. It's time to show the galaxy why Deathworlders are sometimes exactly what you need in a crisis. The Thraxi defense station hung in orbit above the partially crystallized planet. From the docking bay window, Commander Alan Rodriguez and his team got their first clear view of the disaster below. Massive crystal formations covered nearly half the world, glowing with an eerie blue light. "It's beautiful in a terrible way," said Lisa Wright, adjusting her environmental suit. The scientists had confirmed that humans could breathe the Thraxi atmosphere, but the captain had ordered full protective gear until they were certain there were no hidden dangers. The airlock door opened and 3 Thraxi officials entered. They were taller than expected, with slender blue bodies and large, expressive eyes. Their feathery antennae twitched nervously at the sight of the humans. "I am Defense Coordinator Malik," said the lead alien, his translator device converting his clicks and whistles into English. We thank you for coming, though we did not truly believe you would." Alan stepped forward. At 6 feet 2 inches, he towered over the Thraxi. "Commander Alan Rodriguez, United Earth Defense Force. We're here to help in any way we can." The Thraxi visibly flinched at his size and deep voice. "Yes, the Deathworlders. We have heard stories but never thought to meet your kind in person." Lisa moved beside Alan, her smaller frame perhaps less intimidating. "I'm Dr. Lisa Wright, xenobiologist. I need to understand these Voidborn if we're going to stop them." Malik's antennae drooped. "We have tried everything. Our weapons pass through them. Our shields fail against them. They simply consume." "Take us to your command center," Alan said. "Show us everything you know." In the Thraxi command center, humans and aliens studied the holographic displays of the crystal invasion. Keith Russell examined the alien technology with growing concern. "Your power systems are part of the problem," he told the Thraxi engineers. "They're broadcasting energy signatures that seem to attract the Voidborn." The chief Thraxi engineer, a female named Prila, tilted her head. "We cannot simply shut down our power. Our people would die." "Not shut down," Keith explained. "Modify. On Earth, we developed shielded systems that contain energy signatures. I think we can adapt them to your technology." On the main screen, a new crystal formation was spreading across a southern continent. The humans watched in silence as the blue light consumed a city in minutes. "They're getting faster," Lisa observed. "Learning and adapting. Then we need to work faster," said Alan. He turned to his team. "Prep for ground deployment. We need samples and direct observations." Malik's large eyes widened in alarm. "You cannot go to the surface. No one returns from the crystal zones." Alan's expression remained determined. "Humans are built differently. Our bodies can withstand conditions that would kill most species. It's why the Council fears us. It's also why you called us." On the bridge of the Intrepid, Captain Ethan Hayes received a disturbing report from Officer Ryan Cooper. "Sir, we're detecting a new signal. It's Council frequencies." Ethan's back stiffened. "Where?" "Edge of the system. 3 ships, moving, fast." Ryan looked up from his station. "They're Council enforcement vessels, Captain." Lieutenant Nicole Bennett spoke from her tactical station. "They've spotted us. No question about it." Ethan considered his options. Running would abandon the Thraxi. Fighting would confirm every fear the Council had about humans. Open a channel to the Valiant and Dauntless. All ships to maintain position and continue operations. Do not power weapons unless fired upon. He paused. "And send a message to the Council ships. Inform them we're here on a humanitarian mission at the request of the Thraxi government." "Yes, sir," said Ryan. "But I doubt they'll care why we're here. We broke quarantine." "Then we'll just have to show them it was worth breaking," Ethan replied. On the surface of the Thraxi world, Alan led a team of 6 Marines and Dr. Wright toward the edge of a crystal zone. They moved carefully through an abandoned city, their heavy boots crunching on broken glass and debris. The normal gravity of the planet made them stronger, faster, and more agile than they would be on Earth. "Stay alert," Alan warned. "We don't know how these things attack." The edge of the crystal zone glittered ahead, a wall of blue-white formations that pulsed with inner light. Lisa moved forward with her scanning equipment, her face hidden behind her helmet visor. The energy readings are off the charts, she reported. These crystals are converting matter to energy at the atomic level. It's like nothing we've ever seen. One of the Marines, Sergeant Olivia Martinez, pointed to a nearby building. Movement, sir. 2 o'clock. They all turned to see a small crystal formation growing out of the wall, spreading like ice across water. It moved with purpose, extending toward them. Back up, Alan ordered. Defensive positions. Lisa didn't move, her scanner still pointed at the advancing crystal. Wait, it's reacting to our power cells. The energy is drawing it to us. All units power down non-essential systems, Alan commanded. The crystal's growth slowed but didn't stop. Alan raised his rifle and fired a short burst. The bullets passed through the crystal with no effect. Conventional weapons ineffective, he reported into his communicator. Switching to thermal. He adjusted his rifle settings and fired again. This time, the beam of concentrated heat caused the crystal to vibrate and crack slightly before reforming. It reacts to temperature changes, Lisa observed. Extreme heat causes stress in the formation. Suddenly, more crystals began forming all around them, emerging from the ground and nearby structures. We've got company, Sergeant Martinez warned. Lots of company. Alan made a quick decision. Dr. Wright, get your samples. Martinez, cover her. The rest of you, form a perimeter. We're pulling back in 2 minutes. As Lisa worked quickly to collect crystal fragments, the formations grew more aggressive, moving faster toward the humans. One Marine fired his thermal weapon, creating a temporary path through the advancing crystals. Samples secured, Lisa announced. Let's move. They began a fighting retreat using their thermal weapons to slow the crystal advance. As they ran, Alan noticed something strange. The crystals seemed most attracted to their power sources, but also tracked their body heat. They sense life energy, he realized. That's why they consume planets. They're feeding on all forms of energy, including biological. When they reached the extraction point, the Intrepid's shuttle was waiting. They piled in quickly as crystal formations reached for the landing gear. Get us out of here, Alan ordered the pilot. As the shuttle lifted off, they looked down at the crystal zone now surging with activity where they had been standing. They're learning, Lisa said quietly, adapting to us specifically. Then we better learn faster, Alan replied, securing the samples. Because this isn't just about saving the Thraxi anymore. If these things ever found Earth, he didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone in the shuttle understood the stakes had just gotten much higher. The Council ships moved into orbit around the Thraxi homeworld, their sleek designs gleaming against the darkness of space. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Captain Ethan Hayes watched the main view screen as a transmission came through. I am Enforcement. Director Krell of the Galactic Council, said a tall, reptilian alien with golden scales and vertical pupils. You have violated quarantine restrictions. Your presence here is illegal. Ethan stood straight, his voice calm but firm. This is Captain Hayes of the United Earth Defense Force. We are responding to a distress call from the Thraxi government. Their world is being consumed by the Voidborn, and they requested our help. Krell's eyes narrowed. The Council is handling this situation. Your interference is not required or welcome. You will power down your vessels and prepare to be escorted back to your quarantine zone. With respect, Director, the Thraxi sent out an SOS because the Council wasn't handling the situation. Ethan replied. We're here on a humanitarian mission, and we won't leave until the Thraxi are safe. The reptilian alien's scales darkened with anger. You have 1 hour to comply, or we will take action. The Council will not allow Deathworlders to roam freely in civilized space. The transmission ended abruptly. Lieutenant Nicole Bennett moved to stand beside Ethan. They have us outgunned, Captain, she said quietly. But not outmatched, Ethan replied. Contact Commander Rodriguez and have him return to the ship immediately. And get me a direct line to the Thraxi leadership. We need to accelerate our plans. In the Intrepid's science lab, Dr. Lisa Wright and Keith Russell worked frantically to analyze the crystal samples. The fragments were contained in energy-dampening fields, but even so, they continued to pulse with an inner light. Look at this, Lisa said, pointing to her screen. The crystals aren't just consuming energy. They're storing it and communicating with each other. It's like a hive mind. Keith leaned closer. And they adapt quickly. See how the structure has already changed to resist our thermal weapons? Officer Ryan Cooper entered the lab, his expression tense. Dr. Wright, the captain wants to know if you've made any progress. The council ships are threatening action and we're running out of time. Lisa straightened, determination in her eyes. Tell him we have a theory. The Voidborn operate on collective intelligence. If we can disrupt their communication network, we might be able to stop their advance. How do we do that? Ryan asked. We need to create an energy feedback loop. Keith explained. Use their own network against them. But we'll need to get close to the main crystal formation, Lisa added. Right into the heart of the consumed territory. Ryan's face paled slightly. That's a suicide mission. Not for humans, Keith said, with a grim smile. Not for Deathworlders. In the Thraxi evacuation center, thousands of blue-skinned aliens crowded into temporary shelters. Commander Alan Rodriguez walked alongside Malik, observing the refugees. Your people are scared, Alan noted. We have never faced extinction before, Malik replied. The Voidborn consume everything, and now the Council has arrived, not to help, but to remove our best hope. Alan stopped walking. Why did the Council abandon you? That's what I don't understand. Malik's antennae drooped. There is something I have not told you. The Council, they knew about the Voidborn. They have known for centuries. What? Alan's voice was sharp with surprise. The Voidborn appear every few hundred years, Malik explained. The Council's policy has always been to sacrifice the affected worlds rather than fight. They evacuate, only those they deem worthy of saving. Alan's fists clenched. And they kept this information secret? Let entire civilizations die? Yes. And they feared your species because your biology, your adaptability. You are the only ones capable of fighting the Voidborn. The Council feared that if humans learned of the threat, you would unite the galaxy against them. Before Alan could respond, his communicator buzzed. Rodriguez here. Commander, return to the ship immediately, came Ethan's voice. The Council has given us an ultimatum. We need to move fast. On the bridge of the lead Council ship, Director Krell met with his officers. His assistant, a small amphibian-like being, approached nervously. Director, our sensors have detected something unusual. The humans are modifying Thraxi technology and installing it on their ships. What kind of technology? Krell demanded. Unknown, but the energy signatures are being masked. They're adapting quickly to the Voidborn threat, Krell hissed in frustration. This is exactly why Deathworlders are dangerous. Their primitive violence makes them unpredictable, but their adaptability makes them unstoppable. We cannot allow them to succeed here. But sir, if they can stop the Voidborn, then every world in the galaxy will know the Council has been lying for centuries, Krell snapped. They will know we sacrificed countless civilizations when we could have called upon the Deathworlders for help. He turned to his weapons officer. Prepare to target the human vessels. We will say they became hostile and left us no choice. Back on the Intrepid, the command crew gathered for a final briefing. Captain Ethan Hayes looked at each of his officers in turn. The plan is simple but dangerous, he said. Dr. Wright and Engineer Russell have identified the Voidborn's weakness. They operate as a network, sharing energy and information. If we can overload that network with a precisely calibrated energy pulse, we might be able to disrupt their entire collective. But we need to deliver the pulse directly to the largest crystal formation on the planet's surface, Lisa added, and we need to do it before the Council ships open fire on us. I'll lead the ground team, Alan volunteered. Ethan nodded. Commander Rodriguez will take a small team to the surface. Lieutenant Bennett will coordinate from the Intrepid and keep the Council ships busy. And how do we do that? Nicole asked. We're going to send them our findings about the Voidborn, Ethan said. Every piece of data we've collected. Let them know we understand that they've known about this threat all along. You think they'll back down? Ryan asked skeptically. No, Ethan replied. I think they'll panic, and while they're deciding what to do about us, we'll save the Thraxi world and prove exactly why Deathworlders deserve a place in this galaxy. A young officer entered the bridge. Captain, we're detecting energy buildups in the council ships. They're powering weapons. Ethan's expression hardened. It seems Director Krell doesn't want to wait the full hour. Shields up, all hands to battle stations. And signal Commander Rodriguez. His team needs to launch now. As alarms sounded throughout the ship, Ethan stared at the view screen showing both the council ships and the crystal-covered planet below. Let's show them what humans do when backed into a corner, he said quietly. The shuttle dropped through the Thraxi atmosphere like a stone, engines straining as Commander Alan Rodriguez and his team braced against the force. Beside him, Dr. Lisa Wright checked her equipment one final time while Sergeant Olivia Martinez ensured her weapon was ready. The council ships have opened fire on the Intrepid, the pilot announced. Captain Hayes is keeping them busy, but we don't have much time. Alan nodded grimly. Get us as close to the main crystal formation as you can, then retreat to a safe distance. We'll signal when we need extraction. The shuttle broke through the cloud cover, revealing the horror below. The crystal formations had spread even further, now covering nearly 60% of the visible landmass. The largest formation rose like a mountain from what was once the Thraxi capital city, pulsing with blue-white light. There's our target, Lisa pointed. The central node of the hive mind. The shuttle landed roughly 2 miles from the crystal mountain. As soon as the door opened, the team could feel the strange energy in the air, making their skin tingle and the hairs on their arms. Stand up. Move fast. Stay together, Alan ordered as they exited the shuttle. Remember, these things are drawn to energy. Keep your power signatures low. The 6 humans moved across the broken landscape, each carrying a piece of the device Keith Russell had designed. The world around them was transformed. Buildings half consumed by crystal, the ground itself glittering with strange growth. There was no sign of any surviving Thraxi in this region. Look, Martinez whispered, pointing ahead. Small, crystal formations were emerging from the ground in their path, growing visibly as they watched. They're responding to our presence, Lisa said. They're learning, adapting to us specifically. Alan lifted his thermal rifle. New plan. We move fast. Don't stop for anything. The team broke into a run, their stronger human muscles giving them speed and power on the low-gravity world. Crystal formations erupted around them, reaching like hungry fingers, but the humans were faster, leaping over obstacles and dodging the crystal growths. In orbit, the Intrepid shuddered as another council blast struck its shields. On the bridge, Captain Ethan Hayes gripped his chair as the ship rocked from the impact. Shields at 62%, Lieutenant Nicole Bennett reported. The Valiant is drawing fire from the second council ship. The Dauntless is continuing to assist with Thraxi evacuation. Return fire, minimal force, Ethan ordered. Target their weapon systems only. I don't want to destroy them, just keep them busy. Officer Ryan Cooper turned from his communication station. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the Thraxi government. They're broadcasting to all ships, including the council vessels. On screen, Ethan said. The image of Malik appeared, his large eyes filled with determination. This is Defense. Coordinator Malik of the Thraxi people. We have transmitted all data regarding the Council's knowledge of the Voidborn to every world in the sector. The truth can no longer be hidden. For centuries, the Council has sacrificed worlds rather than face this threat. They quarantined the humans because they feared what humans could do, not for the galaxy's safety but for their own power. Ethan smiled grimly. Well played, Malik. The Council ship's fire faltered momentarily. On a separate channel, Director Krell's face appeared, scales dark with rage. You have no idea what you've done, human, he hissed. The galaxy fears your kind for good reason. The galaxy feared us because you told them to, Ethan replied. Now they'll know the truth, that when the Thraxi called for help, Earth answered, on. The surface. Alan's team reached the base of the Crystal Mountain. The formation towered above them, at least 500 feet high, pulsing with inner light. "We need to get the device inside the main structure," Lisa said, assembling the components they had carried. "The feedback pulse has to originate from within the collective." Alan looked at the solid crystal wall. "How do we get inside?" Lisa pointed to her readings. "There are fluctuations in the density. These crystals are constantly moving energy through channels. We need to find one of those channels and follow it in." Martinez stepped forward, scanning the base of the formation. "There," she said, pointing to a section where the blue light pulsed more strongly. "That looks like an energy conduit." Alan nodded. "I'll take the device in. The rest of you set up a perimeter and be ready to move fast when I return." "Commander," Lisa protested, "you'll need me to calibrate the device once it's inside." "And you'll need protection," Martinez added. Alan looked at them both, then nodded. "All right, the three of us go in. The rest of you be ready for extraction. In 15 minutes, whether we're back or not." The three humans approached the pulsing section of crystal. As they got closer, they could see that it wasn't solid. Energy flowed through it like blood through veins. Alan reached out and touched the surface. Instead of solid resistance, his hand passed through with only slight resistance, as if pushing through thick liquid. "It's a permeable membrane," Lisa said with excitement. "The Voidborn are letting energy in. They don't recognize us as a threat." "Yet," Martinez added, checking her weapon. The three humans stepped into the crystal. Inside was like nothing they had ever experienced. They were surrounded by flowing energy, patterns of light dancing around them in 3 dimensions. They could move, but it was like walking through water. "This way," Lisa said, following her scanner. The density of the network increases toward the center. They pushed deeper into the crystal mountain, following pathways of energy. All around them, they could feel the collective consciousness of the Voidborn, not a true intelligence as humans understood it, but a complex system of energy patterns, growing and consuming. "Here," Lisa finally said, stopping in what felt like the heart of the mountain. "This is the central node. Every part of the collective connects through this point." Alan unpacked the device, a sphere of metals and crystals that pulsed with its own energy. Lisa began making final adjustments, her fingers working delicately on the controls. "How long will we have after activation?" Martinez asked, keeping watch, although there was nothing conventional to guard against in this strange environment. 30 seconds, maybe less," Lisa replied. "The feedback will disrupt their network, but they'll adapt quickly. We need to be moving toward the exit when I activate it." Alan touched his communicator. "Extraction team, be ready for immediate pickup. We're setting the device now." With the final adjustments made, the three began making their way back toward the entrance, moving as quickly as they could through the resistant medium of the crystal. "Now," Lisa said when they were halfway to the exit, activating the device remotely. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire crystal mountain began to vibrate. The flowing energy patterns around them became erratic, pulsing with new colors. "It's working!" Lisa shouted above the growing noise. "The feedback is disrupting their network." The vibrations grew stronger, and cracks began appearing in the crystal around them. The resistance against their movement suddenly increased, as if the Voidborn had become aware of their presence and were trying to trap them. "Move faster," Alan ordered, grabbing Lisa's arm to help pull her forward. They fought their way through the increasingly solid crystal, the exit still 20 yards ahead. Around them, the mountain was beginning to crumble, energy discharging in bright flashes. With a final push, they broke through the outer membrane, falling onto the solid ground. Outside, as the crystal mountain shuddered violently behind them, the extraction team was already there, helping them to their feet as they ran toward the waiting shuttle. As they lifted off, they watched the crystal mountain collapse, sending shockwaves through all the connected formations. Across the planet's surface, the blue glow of the Voidborn began to fade as their network fell apart. "We did it," Lisa said, exhaustion in her voice. "We disrupted their collective. Without the network, they can't maintain their structure." Alan nodded, watching as the shuttle rose toward the stars. "Let's hope the Council has learned their lesson, too." Above the planet, a new ship had arrived, the UES Defender, Earth's most powerful vessel, led by Admiral Samantha Collins herself. The Council ships had ceased fire and were now in a defensive posture. Humanity had answered a call for help, and in doing so, changed the galaxy forever. The most feared Deathworlders had proven why sometimes being dangerous was exactly what the universe needed.